If you're a marketing agency owner and you're still out there solving problems with your team, you're still jumping into delivery and you think maybe it's faster sometimes if you do it, this episode's for you.
It's really deciding, I think it's deciding at a certain point whether you're a leader or not.
Today, I'm sitting down with Dobbin Buck of Get You Wired, and they're a full service digital agency in Georgia. They have deep technical capability, but one of the things that Dobbin has built with his team is a leadership model that is designed for scale.
I don't need to be the grinder in everything that's going on. And if I have someone that's more capable than myself, then I should honor them with the role and responsibility to own certain things.
And we go deeper than tactics into what Dobbin calls analog leadership in a digital age. And man, I love this guy. Building calm, collaborative culture that creates freedom and performance. So let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of From Grind to Gold. We're talking about founder freedom, agencies and the owners that discover freedom, how they do it, what they do, how they get there. And today we've got an amazing guest, Dobbin Buck. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Tony. Really excited to be here with you today and jam and have some fun.
Absolutely.
Share some
Absolutely.
intel.
Well, you've been on the road a little bit, and you were talking to me about, lately you've been talking about this this very topic of how you get your agency to a point where it's an asset for you that you invest in that gives you returns and gives you a life, really. So I can't wait to dig into that. But before we go there, how did you get into the agency game?
Oh, I get asked this a lot, and I have a singular word for the answer, and that is desperation. Um, I I came out of the museum trade, so I developed museums for a lot of my early career, but then in my in my 40s, I left the corporate world and moved to the country, and uh, my wife eventually said I needed to get a job, and um, so she set up a job interview for me at a little website shop here in Dahlonega, Georgia, which is a very rural tourist destination town. And I wound up meeting with the owner, and we first he didn't think he could afford me for my resume, and the story I tell is, I told him I can't afford to go home tonight without a job. So how about you give me a job, we shake hands, and then we'll figure out how we can make some money. And he
Right.
thought that sounded like a good idea, and so I joined him, and subsequently, um, as time has gone on, and this is like going back to I don't know, mid 2006, seven, somewhere in
Hmm.
that zone. Um, Wound up helping to grow it wasn't really even an agency, it's like a web shop, right?
Right.
And helped develop it into an agency, and then ultimately um, uh, wound up buying the company um, with a couple of other partners from the
That's a
founder.
story. That's a story in and of itself. We won't go into that necessarily, but
Yeah.
that's interesting to me.
And so, grew into it, and then um, took ownership. And, and many years later, I mean, I think this deal's been going for like 20 some years. I say 23 or 24 years, but I haven't done an actual count of like the history of the company.
Right.
But it's over 20. I'll say the company is old enough to drink now. So, um, and it needs it.
Every now and again, a stiff one.
Exactly. So, it was really that I had a background in multimedia design,
Hmm.
projects, uh, business, all the things I was able to carry forward from my
Yeah.
previous career. Um, where I came into this, it was far simpler than what I'd been doing before. And, as time has gone on, the agency game and what we do, the crafts and what's needed has become more and more complex. So it's not nearly as simple as it used to be. But I was able to transition into this world pretty easily
Yeah.
in the
We may
early
be the
days.
only two people not talking about AI right now on this call.
Yeah,
So
there's
we won't
there's
go
plenty
there,
of
but yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But so uh, talk to me about your agency now. So we can kind of talk about transit, but what are you guys doing now? Name of your agency. What are you guys up to?
Get You Wired Incorporated, located in beautiful Dahlonega, Georgia, in the backwoods of North Georgia, the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
There
So
you go.
we're a full
From New.
service. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say. So from New York to Georgia, is New York where you first started?
New York is not where I first started. I did a stint in Manhattan building with museum projects and stuff, but I'm actually originally from Orlando, Florida. So,
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's right.
Sunshine State.
Okay.
But we're a full service digital marketing agency, work in a variety of specialized verticals, as well as a full agency that works with a variety of different types of clientele, from software companies to speakers, authors, gurus, um, you name it. So I have specialized channels that are for legal, for IT, for this, for that, that are very specific products, and then the agency is is considerably broader than those uh, disciplines. One thing that maybe differentiates my agency from a lot of my friends and contemporaries that have agencies is that I have 14 or 15 full stack developers, true coders. So on top of doing the creative and automation and all the things that would be associated with agency, we're also doing a lot of real world coding, SaaS
Hmm.
development, API integrations, more complex efforts that have been a really great foot in the door for some substantial relationships, because a lot of times that's where modern agencies start to fall short, is that they are really creative, they are more oriented on the top of funnel, but then when you get into the depths of data and
Systems,
connect systems,
yeah,
connecting tech
connected,
stacks, yeah.
right?
So
Completely.
we can get in and do all the weird nerdy stuff as well, and we do a lot of that stuff. So we're currently around a 40 40 person team. I don't know exactly how many team members. I've been up
Yeah.
over 50, and right now I'm at 40, and it's not a race to see how many people I have or anything like that. It's really the demand and bandwidth uh, uh, really dictates uh, where we're at with that. But I've got a great team of people. They're just amazing. Everybody's younger than me, so I can say young people um, that I'm honored to collaborate with. And, I like to say we're changing the world of business one line of code at a time.
Right. Right. Well, that I think it was a smart move because as you get up the chain, like you say, everybody or seemingly everybody is saying, "Oh, we can get you more leads. We can get you more leads." I mean, how many emails do you get a week, a day that talk about that? And getting leads is, a, one small minor fraction of what happens. But that's the shiny object because people all think, oh, new business. But what you're really talking about is having the capability, the development capability to build back end process and integration and automation. Because as a business grows and it becomes more complex, there has to be a way to simplify that. So I don't know, did you think about that ahead, or are you like me where you kind of failed into it? Did you intentionally say, I think we need developers and here's why, or was it just kind of organically evolved into that?
Well, I'd say it organically evolved into that, but the primary reason why it organically evolved into that is my business partner, Bobby Brown, the legend. Um,
Not the Whitney and Bobby, the
no, not that one, but he's a legend. He's a legend nonetheless.
there you go.
Um, is a brilliant developer, and ultimately within our ethos, it we have a we have a company of mentorship, and so we were able to really effectively home grow a development team. It's not the way I operate now. I've learned a few things about the cost and time involved with growing right out of a computer science degree in college into what we need for somebody as a large and lengthy investment.
Yeah.
But that's where we came from, was really developing talent. And what type of talent do you develop? You develop the type of talent that you have the capacity to teach, right? So we
Right.
had the capacity to teach um, full stack development within the context of what our business model supports. And we've always been leaning a little bit more heavily on that development side.
So speaking of the capacity to teach, t- a lot of times leadership is, by the way, regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, leadership today, I feel like I can only impact the the people I work with and around and for. Now that's my feeling, and so I provide my leadership in what I can in my capacity. But it also means if I get to a point where I get in this loop where I'm doing the same thing, it's time to evolve. So talk to me about the evolution of being an owner in a business from maybe a little bit of where you started to where you are now and what your role is now. Maybe we start there. How did you get to where you are and what evolution do you have to make? I know there's multiple takes on this, but I want to hear your take on it.
Well, in the early days, I wore a lot of hats. So I was the senior strategist, I was the sales guy, I was the business development guy. Um, So I'm pretty, by nature, I'm pretty creative. And by creative, I don't mean I can draw pretty pictures or work the heck out of Photoshop or something like that. But I mean, uh, intuitively and in a business sense creative, to
Hmm.
where I can understand people's business models and find solutions, maybe solutions that weren't obvious to them. And so early on, I was working directly with clients and things like that. And as time has gone on, I think my greatest strength in business and in life is that I surround myself with people that are uh, more capable than I in a lot of disciplines and crafts. I married a woman that is far more capable than myself in life in general. So, despite all my shortcomings, I have this amazing home life because I've got a partner that can bring all the things that I don't bring to the table. And the same thing in business. Ultimately, there was a period maybe to where um, I was trying to work a lot because then I was showing that I was working as hard or harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
I needed to prove myself or something in different areas. I needed to show how important I was to the organization.
That's how you value hard work, discipline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then over time, and I've learned from a lot of smart people in my sphere of influence and mentors and different things like that. Um, I started realizing that that's not very important and it's all an illusion, you know. Um, I can I can bring value, I can be important. I don't need to be the grinder in everything that's going on. And if I have someone that's more capable than myself, then I should honor them with the role and responsibility uh, to own certain things. So where it's gone from me wearing a lot of many different hats has come to currently it's working closely with the leadership team, the COO and the CTO, and some of the higher level middle management people.
Yeah.
That's about the extent of who I work with directly. And providing vision and direction for the company in alignment with the leadership team. I don't come up with all the ideas, mind you. I'm a member of a leadership team that is like actively seeking to improve operational efficiencies, methodology, all of this stuff. So I'm capable to understand what they're bringing to the table, what their ideas are, throwing in my uh, 2 cents or my opinion on things, and then we're
Right.
deciding on how to move forward, right? And then I still do a lot of business development. So I'm out at a lot of shows, I'm speaking here and there, I'm on a
Hmm.
podcast, I'm the front man for the organization. So to
Yeah.
the outside world, I'm penetrating different ecosystems and communities and things like that. And then on the inside of the company, uh, I'm doing my absolute best to create an environment of collaboration and and growth amongst the leaders without stress, without intensity, to where that energy flows down through the org chart and out to the clients and
Yeah.
out to our reputation, right?
Right. It's interesting because um, I work with a lot of agency owners, or a handful, let's say. And one of the, when you go from that, hey, I do have to be in the grind, to I'm trying to get out of that, there's a habitual thing that is ingrained in maybe a lot of people that says, oh, if you're not actually doing the work or providing the idea. You mentioned, oh, I don't always provide the idea, it's not always coming from me. What kind of advice would you give those agency owners who are right on the cusp of that? um, and maybe trust, I think, is probably like the foundation of all that. But how did, and that maybe came about naturally for you, because I don't know, maybe you're a trusting sort, or maybe explain that process where you maybe consciously said, oh, I need to do this, or it's just not going to grow past me.
Yeah, I think that there's to some degree some self-awareness and evaluation needs to come into play. And the question would be, where is this necessity to control coming from? Is it because I need to control things? Or is it because what I bring to the table, I am the most capable person to bring direction to the table in this instance, whatever we're working through? What is the reason for this is a big question. It would be very difficult to delegate, to parlay responsibility out if one did not have a capable team that one trusts. And so I would say, ideally, it's about finding the right people that you can operate that way with. I am uh, sometimes confused with being this super smart visionary guy, and maybe I have, I've got some of that.
Yeah.
I'll own a little bit of it, sure. But the truth of the matter is that either intentionally or by luck, I've managed to have very capable people around me that can walk the dog,
Yeah.
and
Right.
and
Right.
and
Do the
so
work. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, do the work or have the vision or come up with ideas. Why would I be the person that is coming up with evolutions in our operational efficiencies when I'm not in the middle of operations day to day and seeing all the nuanced elements within the organization that one would need to know to make those decisions, to make improvements on? It just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I have my lane. I have things that I'm very in tune with and make decisions on, but I rely on the COO, the CTO of the company to be able to bring their wizardry and expertise and day in, day out, hands on knowledge of what's going on to make decisions. I'm just quite frankly not the guy to do it.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is so, you know, it doesn't, I don't think you got to where you are just like overnight, like, okay, we thought about it this way and this is you have to go make sales and generate revenue and that's always a concern. And what I always hear like from some agency owners is like, oh, I can do this better, faster, cheaper than this other person. And so I'm just going to jump in and do it.
Mm.
And because they feel like um, it's a money time saving thing. And what I wonder, and I want your opinion on this or your thoughts on this, is what I wonder is if you could remove the money thing, um, don't you want to, as a leader and as an owner of an agency, don't you want to, if you're doing that, you're basically capping where your people can get to because you're coming in and taking their responsibility that you want them to blossom into or grow into. Um, that's my theory. That's my experience is when you actually step out of the way and let go of the money thing a little bit. Actually, the people, if you've done a good job, the people that you surround yourself are more capable than you. They just haven't been playing that role yet because you're in it. So it's a little bit of mental gymnastics, but it's really simple when you think about it. How do you look at that? And you've already done all this stuff, so hindsight is always 2020. But how do you think about that, or what would you tell leaders who are in that spot where they're like, "Oh, I need to jump in and do it because I can do it better," and maybe you can at this point, but you're
Yeah.
just capping the ceiling for your
Yeah.
people.
Well, 9 out of 10 times I'm not capable of jumping in and wrangling the things that need to be wrangled, just to be perfectly clear.
Sure.
Um, I'm not. I'm technically not capable, and I'm not the person. It doesn't save us any money at this point with
At this
what we
point,
have
yeah.
going on. At certain point, certainly jumping in and rolling up the sleeves and hammering some stuff out just because it needs to be pushed through. Um, those days have been there, and there may be examples of that are going to exist this year to some degree.
Yeah.
But uh, it's really deciding, I think it's deciding at a certain point whether you're a leader or not. And I believe that as a leader, we're here to empower people to become the best that they can be and to trust them, to lock arms with them when I've given them some responsibility and maybe they're struggling with it. And my wife, Elizabeth, who's the COO of the agency, is really good at that, of getting in and locking arms and working through things with people
Hmm.
intimately uh, until
Yeah.
it's able to flow a little bit more. So there's some effort in that transition sometimes of parlaying responsibility, of delegation, of role,
Coaching. You got to coach a little
coaching,
bit. Yeah.
and it's also being able to identify um, people's strengths and are they in the right role to begin with? And if they aren't, where can we leverage the strengths that they have? So we've been known to move the chess pieces around a little bit or change the um, the responsibilities of certain roles and bring in more support. Maybe there's another person that's needed in this equation. Sometimes in small business and agencies, we have people that are, for all practical purposes, doing two or three roles uh, simultaneously that really they're only suited to be doing one of them. And so it does get into the finances of how many people can I afford to bring on and still remain profitable and all of that. But it's just really paying close attention to this, understanding the humans, and how can we how can we create something that flows, that doesn't have bottlenecks in the deliverability of our products? Where do we need work in the sales process, in the onboarding process, in the implementation process, in the
Hmm.
creative process, all of that stuff, looking at it closely and then making iterations, trying things, failing, adjusting. When you're doing this in sort of micro pieces, they aren't like huge shifts to where you can start dialing, smaller things together
Yeah.
and making an impact. And so, but back to where I started is, as a leader, it's really about empowering people and being there to support them and being there to motivate them and being there to provide whatever wisdom or experience that I have to offer. I will say that at this juncture, right now in my agency, I'm having to, we're talking about from the top down, people are having to learn, they're having to grow. On the way up, I'm having to learn and I'm having to grow to keep up with what's going on in the team, because things are shifting so quickly. And I know this isn't a conversation about AI, but it's a great topic of where I'm having to get caught up with what my team's capacity is and what their capabilities are, because they're further ahead than me.
Right.
And I need to at least be able to, from a high level, to be able to cognitively understand what we're doing and to be able to communicate that effectively. So, it runs both ways. that I'm having to keep current. I'm having to keep caught up with the people that are I'm working with because they're they're moving ahead at such a exponential rate.
Yeah. Well, especially you have all the development resources and they're clued into some of this stuff big time.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me, and we'll kind of wrap this up, but there's this, when we talk about evolution or like you're at, what'd you say, around 40 people ish. When you're down at around 15 to 20 ish people, there's a letting go of I've got to dive in and jump in and do everything and hands on and maybe a few parts to being more of I'm going to support the growth of my people and be a leader. And what I found is if at that stage, if you don't, as the leader, if you don't evolve yourself, then they don't see where to go next. Now they do a great, it's like every other person. We all try to do a great job at what our job is. And those ingredients are now, it's like, okay, we have the makings of a good team. We have this person doing this. We have this person. But where do I evolve to next? And how do I think about that? Because maybe now I have more time because I'm not doing the things as an owner that I used to do. Now I have more time. What do I do with my time other than fly fishing? What do I do? What do I do to evolve? And I think I struggled with it. I think people struggle with it when you are so ingrained to work and now you don't have to because you did a good job of finding those leaders and they're doing it. And there's this it's kind of like letting go a little bit of all the past and you almost become this new person a little bit. And that can be a scary thing for people. I don't know if there's a question in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
have you seen that have you experienced that same thing, or do you see that in people?
Well, I can speak for myself that I keep myself very active. The question is what I'm keeping myself active with. So I have found structurally within the context of our company that there is around 21 hours of intentional, effective work that's specifically on the company that is useful at this juncture.
21 hours a week or
Yeah,
a month, a week, month.
a week. Yeah, a week. I'm not going that crazy. 21 hours a month, and it might just be time to go. But 21 hours a week, which roughly leaves, let's just say, if we're living in a 8-hour work week model, would be half the week.
Mm-hmm.
But within the context of that, as a leader, what can I be doing with my time that is not specifically intentional to my primary business model? Well, outside of that, it's like, I think to be, and this is all just my opinion, but I
Sure.
think that when I'm relaxed and I'm calm and I'm able to look at things, even problems or flare ups or explosions, and at least come into it from a place of stillness or calmness, that I'm able to be more creative in my solutions rather than reactive to some stimulus or some situation. So I think that finding a balance in making sure that I'm caring for myself as a human being is really important. The other thing is continuing to grow as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a business leader is really important. And how do I continue to grow? Well, you and I met in at a resort in outside of Phoenix at an event, and it was with a bunch of agency owners that trying to do things for their businesses, right?
Yeah.
A very motivated bunch of people with a lot of great ideas. I picked up a lot of great ideas there, and I shared some of my insights to other people. So I like putting myself in relationships and situations to where I'm able to learn from other people. So in my what we'll call the time that's not in my 21-hour sliver, I may be reaching out to my sphere of influence,
Yeah.
catching up. I've got a list of people that, some people I need to just touch base with every quarter, some people twice a year, some people
Yeah.
once a year. There's different things. And I make sure that I'm remaining relevant and reaching out to people that, I want to have relationships with that can help me grow as a leader. And so reading, I read 1 to 3 hours a day generally. And
Are, are you, sorry to interrupt, are you a reader or are you a listener?
I'm a reader.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't read. I'm 3 pages in and I
Yeah.
listen. I can listen to multiple books a day and retain it. It's strange. But what you're, there's three things you said there that are really important, that I think are really important. Keep your relationships alive. Keep active, keep your relationships alive, because tools are going to come and go and the tools are getting a little bit smarter, but relationship, you can't have a, well, in my opinion, you can't have a real relationship with a computer. So keep your relationships alive. Always stretch your learning muscle by reading or listening or expanding. And then the third thing that might be the most relevant is what people want out of their leaders is someone who's calm, cool, and collected, that is uh, leading in a way that's not frantic and all over the place, staying calm, being a good person while you're doing all of this. I think those are the three things that I'm learning from what you just said. Um, and it kind of opens up for me, it opens up a new way to do it. Like, started paying attention to how much time I'm spending with my son and my wife. And I was like, wow, I need to do more of this, because it's just better on the heart, it just feels better. Um, and keeping perspective on what that business is doing and it's like, if someone in your business has a fire and they come to you and their hair's on fire and you're the calming voice and reason, and like, oh, we can handle this and everything's fine. That's what they need. So that's
Yeah,
what I,
possibly. Or I might say, oh, yeah, this is tragic. Holy cow. Like, okay, um, we don't have my time machine is broken right now, so we can't time travel and go back and fix it. So it's like, what are we going to do right now? What are we going to do moving forward in this? That's where we need to be looking at. As far as my wife got me tuned into this thing, I learned so much from the people that I'm honored to work with, but um, not laying blame to people that make mistakes. Um, Looking at our shortcomings and our challenges as a growth and learning experience, not letting them sit there and just get worse, of course, being proactive wherever possible, but really looking at wherever we're challenged to learn it, to look at it as a learning experience, to be able to move things forward more effectively and not repeat the same mistakes again and again and again. And I watched this in the ranks, and it's very motivational for me. And so here's an example of um, psychology and behavioral dynamics within the team that has come up and changed me and the way that I look at things and the way that I approach how I'm operating with people. I've learned from um, I've learned from within the company that there's a more effective way of interacting and getting the results that we're ideally looking for. So I learned from that, and I'm a big believer of everybody prioritizing themselves and caring for themselves first and foremost, because if you aren't taking care of your life, you mentioned your son, your wife, all of that. Like, why do we work to begin with? Now, I'm into this marketing thing. I think it's fascinating. I like the people I get to work with. I like, my clients. Some of them are very fascinating people. So it's engaging and fulfilling. But if you were to say, Dobbin, uh, would you do this for free without making an income? Or would you choose something else to do? Well, I'd be the first one to sign up for I might have some other things that I'd rather do if I'm not getting paid for it. This is how I make a living.
Yeah.
And the reason why I need to make a living, from my perspective, is to provide a warm and healthy environment for my family to live in, to empower my team members to develop the same thing, for me to be able to pursue hobbies. You mentioned fly fishing. That's something I love.
Yeah.
Um, I have my daily practices that I do every day, or things that are really important to me that are for my mental well-being and my physical well-being. And I prioritize those things first and foremost, because when I have those things in check and I'm caring for myself when I come into the business role of being a leader of a company, I'm far more effective. I'm far more caring. I'm far more patient. I'm far more understanding. I'm a better person to work with, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I bring that same thing, and nothing's perfect. I have my moments, do I ever freak out? Sure.
Yeah.
It
We always
happens,
step
but
in it from time to time. That's why I always tell people, hey, man, I just stepped in it. I'm really sorry. Like, you know, sorry. Let's, you know, give me some grace a little bit. And you
yeah,
have to
but
give and get and all that stuff. So look, I could talk to you about this for hours. And I think, um, to sum it up, you're always evolving as a leader, trying to become the best you. You can't become anybody else, or you can't become a better, I can't become a better Dobbin. I can't compare myself. It's just as good as I can get, as long as I'm better me, more effective me, more caring, helping support people in their career, in their life as best you can, and stick tight in those types of relationships, whether they're with your team or with people outside of your company. Really is what I'm feeling. And man, you are a great example, I think. And we're just getting to know each other a little bit, but you are a great example of how you can um, have a good life and also have a good business. And that to me is, any agency owner looking out there, that's like the holy grail as far as I'm concerned. So I really appreciate your time today, and hopefully we'll have more conversations in the future. But thank you so much.
Amazing. Honored to be here. Yeah, and I like to call it, I have a little tagline I've been working with around some of these concepts. It's called analog leadership in the digital age. It's that human contact. It's going back to vinyl. It's you know that connection, and I really believe in it. So thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and yeah, looking forward to charging forth.